Right now at 6, we've exposed the flaws in the hospital system.
Based on our reporting, would you say we identified a problem?
I would say based on your report, you identified numerous problems.
And our attempts to get answers have been turned down.
We've reported some critical things. Why are you walking away from our questions? We just want to hear your perspective.
Denver 7 investigates how the city is now holding those accountable.
Not all victims lost their homes in the Marshall Fire.
We are the silent victims. I mean, people just think, well, your house is still standing, you're fine.
But smoke damage has forced them out of their homes for months, and your generosity is helping them return.
Thanks for joining us for Denver 7 News at 6 tonight. I'm Shannon Ogg.
I'm Ann Trujillo. Dangerous delays in responding to 911 calls and paramedics pressured to bypass qualified hospitals with critically injured patients. Now, Denver City leaders demand answers following 8 months of reporting by Denver 7 Investigates.
Our chief investigative reporter, Tony Kowaleski, in with us tonight. City Council tonight promising to dig deeper on this.
Yeah, Shannon, and after today's meeting of the Public Safety Committee, several city leaders told me they now want more information, more answers. They want Denver Health to explain a fractured relationship with the fire department and failures to put patients first and to quickly respond to 911 calls.
Do we have calls for service that come in and the unit is not assigned because the unit's not available yet?
Denver city leaders
make sure that we have better response times.
Asking tough questions.
There has been some concern about response times.
Placing Denver Health on the hot seat. Critical questions about paramedic response times and a secret culture pressuring paramedics to bypass other level 1 trauma centers and returning critically injured patients only to Denver Health.
We're not perfect. We have opportunities to improve.
That has been a consistent talking point from leaders at Denver Health.
We know we have challenges. We want to do better. We will do better.
But ultimately, the question remains, will Denver Health make changes? A question shared exclusively with Denver 7 by several paramedics and Denver firefighters. What are these emails saying?
The emails are saying what we all know, is that there has been a long-time problem with how long it takes an ambulance to arrive on scene.
In recent months, Denver 7 has uncovered a paper trail of problems supported by passionate testimonials from emergency responders demanding accountability. Were you ever questioned about a decision to bring a level 1 trauma patient to the closest hospital instead of Denver Health?
Yes, by my superiors and the medical direction team.
Do you think Denver Health believes that they can't be stopped?
Yes, they do. They play by their own rules.
Those testimonials and the stacks of emails included in our reports were the foundation for questions by members of Denver City Council.
I wasn't surprised that the wait times are as long, and there seems to be some conflict between the paramedics and the Denver Fire Department, and it's a shame.
If you had not been reporting on this, I'm not so sure we'd have all these people in the room today, so thank you.
Which led us to the question, will Denver Health make changes?
Dr. McVaney, Mr. Wiskevich, are you available for?
A question we had for Medical Director Kevin McVaney and the hospital's chief paramedic.
We've reported some critical things. Why are you walking away from our questions? We just want to hear your perspective. Are you going to change anything? Sounds like the answer's no.
Dr. McVaney also avoided this key question. There are currently 70 Denver firefighters who are licensed and trained as paramedics, but Dr. McVaney prevents them from using their advanced life-supporting skills when they respond to calls. The question here, why is Dr. McVaney preventing trained firefighters from saving lives? Council members and members of the city are now asking for a closer look at that contract between the city and Denver Health.
All right, Tony Kowaleski tonight.
Thank you, Tony.
Nice work. Now, there are a couple other bills being debated at the state capitol today that focus on investigations Tony has uncovered. The first allows unannounced inspections of funeral homes and crematories during business hours. That bill did advance out of committee. The second increases requirements for releasing certain criminals on personal recognizance bonds. That bill died in committee. You can find all of Tony's previous reporting right now on the Denver 7 Plus for your streaming device.
A former Loveland police officer has pleaded guilty for the violent arrest of 73-year-old Karen Garner back in 2020. These pictures from the Loveland Reporter-Herald show Austin Hopp in court today. He pleaded guilty to second-degree assault. Hopp arrested Garner, who has dementia, for allegedly stealing $13 worth of merchandise from a Walmart. Garner's arm was fractured and her shoulder dislocated during the arrest. Now Hopp faces between 2 and 8 years in prison. A former Domino's delivery driver has been arrested for sexual assault and stalking. Larimer County deputies worry there may be more victims. Deputies say 21-year-old Cyrus Warren delivered pizza multiple times to the Village Garden Apartments in Fort Collins. He interacted with 2 separate young women at the same residence during those visits, and after he quit his job in December, deputies say he returned to the apartment in February. And when the women locked the door, they say Warren tried to break in. Warren is also accused of sexually assaulting a separate woman on the same day he quit his delivery job. Now, if you think that you may have been victimized or you know someone, call Larimer County deputies.
Douglas County School Board moving quickly forward with a superintendent search. So just within the last 30 minutes, the board announced the 2 finalists for that position. They are Executive Director of Schools for American Academy, Aaron Kane, and Danny Windsor, Executive Director of Schools for the Parker region. Now, the vote would indicate that conservatives on the board seem to prefer Kane, liberals, Windsor. And then tomorrow, the finalists will be interviewed in a public session. Former Superintendent Corey Wise was fired last month.
Mesa County Clerk of Courts Tina Peters was served with documents outside a court appearance today. Video from our sister station in Grand Junction shows Peters walking with 2 men when a woman jumps up and says, "You've been served," and then walks away. We still don't know what Peters was served with. Now, Peters was charged after allegedly filming a court appearance without permission and then for allegedly trying to kick an officer during the arrest. She's also under investigation for compromising sensitive election information.
Denver 7 Gives has pledged to help those hit hardest by the Marshall Fire. And tonight we are focusing on the silent victims, people with severe smoke damage forced out of their homes for months and facing huge expenses. Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen shines a light on the issue and what you're doing to help.
So this is a pile of stuff.
Everywhere she looks.
There's probably still soot and ash on here.
Toys, clothes, the couch.
We live on that couch.
Sophia Martin sees potential danger.
Why are you so concerned about this?
Because my 4-year-old has asthma. I have a 6-month-old son. He puts everything in his mouth. It's, I'm scared that if I don't make the right moves and don't take the right steps, that they're going to have cancer down the road.
In the same complex as this home that burned, her townhome is inside the Marshall Fire burn zone, but still standing.
That house right there.
Her gratitude forever with the firefighters.
It's amazing what they've done.
But the hurricane-force winds that fueled the Marshall Fire also left everything inside her home coated in debris, her insurance company deeming it uninhabitable.
But it was this overwhelming, burnt plastic on steroids smell. The things that burned aren't a wildfire fire. It's things like asbestos and lead and car batteries.
For almost 2 months now, their family of 4 has been living in a hotel.
We are the silent victims. People just think, well, your house is still standing, you're fine. They don't see that we're still living in a hotel. They don't see that we're trying to figure out what's safe for my family.
When we heard about these concerns, we realized there is not a lot of good science.
CU Professor Yostagawa is studying the impact of smoke damage in the Marshall Fire and says hundreds, if not thousands, of homes are affected.
It's quite a process to get these houses cleaned.
It is quite a process to get these houses cleaned. We have measurements before, during, and after homes were cleaned. What we're working on is also to see how effective the cleaning is.
How much is your insurance going to cover?
I don't know.
Sophia says remediation is costing more than $50,000, and she's put tens of thousands on credit cards. While they hope to come back home next week, Denver 7 Gives wanted to lift some of the worry thanks to generous donations to our wildfire relief fund.
Surprise! Oh, yay! Those are actually really exciting.
Delivering 2 air purifiers at the top of Sophia's wish list.
I have another surprise for you.
And remember, she was worried about the couch?
When you're able to move back into this house, we're going to replace your couch to give you more peace of mind.
That's amazing.
Just an acknowledgement of her smoke damage struggle is what Sophia wanted.
We're really grateful. Thank you. Can I give you a hug?
I would love it.
What she got was a community who has her back.
I have a lot of hope that we can be okay in this home.
In Superior for Denver 7 Gives, I'm Jacqueline Allen.
And we'll stay in touch with Sophia and her family to make sure they have everything they need to safely return to their home, because we know there could be some surprise expenses along the way.
Juneteenth means so much to so many Coloradans, and state lawmakers want to make sure it means something to the rest of our state as well. Today, Governor Polis and members of the Colorado Black Caucus introduced a bill to make Juneteenth a state holiday. Juneteenth takes place on June 19th every year, and on that day in 1865, slaves in Texas were notified of Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had been signed 2 years prior. Bill sponsor and state senator Janet Buckner says that day symbolizes the struggles for people of color.
So in many ways, Juneteenth represents how freedom and justice in the United States has always been delayed for Black people. We need to grapple with our history and never forget that slavery happened. And I think that Juneteenth is largely seen as an African American thing, but it should be seen as something for the general population to be educated about and never forgotten. Everyone should acknowledge their freedoms. We must never forget that this part of history was crucial.
The bill was introduced at our state capitol last week, and it will be in its first committee hearing on the 15th.
Colorado's built for adventure.
If you live here, that's what you should be doing.
How you can land a camping spot in Rocky Mountain National Park.
A nice evening here across the Front Range tonight with lows in the 30s, and we have just one more warm day ahead of us before things really start to change. I'll have the forecast coming up.
Plus, a northeastern Colorado town is turned into an NFL pipeline. The latest local with lofty dreams.